Hey guys. How are you guys doing? Let me see who is there. I see Gloria. Gloria, how are you doing? Kivo, I see you, my brother. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Let me see here. Hi guys. Hi guys. Hi guys. Candy should be joining us shortly. So let me see. Here she is. Hey, girlfriend.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes. How are you doing?
Yay! I'm doing well. I'm so excited for this. So thank you so much for having me.
Me too. You are so gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Thanks. So, what time is it for you right now?
Right now it just turned 12 o'clock, noon here in California.
Oh, you're in LA time. That's right. So how's it been for you? Lockdown and all that stuff. You guys were hit really badly.
Yeah, we were hit pretty bad. Lockdown to me was a bit of a roller coaster. I feel like everybody at first, it was almost surreal. Like we couldn't believe it was happening. And then we thought, oh, we're going to get out of it. But then we didn't get out of it. So I think it was just like a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, I remember seeing people lining up for food and all that stuff. I was like, this is nuts, It was not fun to watch, honestly. I'm so glad. Are you vaccinated? It's a personal question.
I am vaccinated. Yeah, as soon as I could, I was first in line. So yeah.
Yeah. So are you back out there acting and stuff now? Is everything opening up for you? Like your work?
So everything is opening up, which is great. And even during the pandemic, we were able to still do self-tapes. So we could put our auditions on tape and then send it to casting directors. And I think we were doing that before the pandemic, but I think now that the pandemic has hit, it'll be even more virtual stuff, which is great because it even opens it up for more opportunities. So you don't have to necessarily be in LA or be in New York. You can still get bigger opportunities regardless of what region you live in.
All right, that's good. So before this, you used to be traveling a lot, like going to New York and all that stuff.
Yeah. They really wanted local hires around then, but now it's definitely opened up a lot more.
So tell me how I mean, we're just like catching up before like the
absolutely
the serious stuff.
Ask away. Yeah. I definitely want this to be a good conversation. So just ask away.
Yeah. I have friends joining in, so it's gonna be exciting. So tell me, how has it been for you as a young Black lady and in Hollywood and all that stuff? So what has been your experience?
I've had, I would actually say a pretty good experience. I think that there's definitely the dark side of Hollywood and the light side of Hollywood. There's definitely things that happen where girls get propositioned, like it's called like casting couch, like, oh, you do this, salacious favor for me and I'll get you on my show and all that stuff. So that definitely happens. Like that's real. It's not people
that's actually real. Wow.
It's very real. That definitely happens. But at the same time, you don't have to do that in order to succeed. There are a lot of women and we also don't talk about the men. There are a lot of men who also have those same propositions and get, sort of backed into a corner, like do this for me and I'll do that for you. So I think it definitely happens, but know that you don't have to do that in order to succeed, and just be really cognizant of your surroundings, like everything that's come out with Bill Cosby, like 100% support the victims. Yeah, I don't call them accusers, I call them victims, because that happened. Like that to me is a clear cut example of what we talk about when it comes to like the casting couch or things like that. Where you may not have unbelievable. You may not have a gun to your head, but there's but you are under drugs. You have been, out of your mind and sedated and all of these different things. And there's also a thing called like emotional and mental stress and interrogation that happens. So yeah. But I would say for me personally, thankfully, I've never had to face anything too crazy like that. I've heard stories. I think another thing that we don't talk about enough, just Black women as our bodies, our figures, we either feel like we have to sort of, they always stereotype us. We either have to be like the big sort of Aunt Jemima types, or we're sort of like the really like, or we have to feel we have to shrink and be super, super, super thin, and we can't really accentuate our curves or how our body naturally is. So sometimes you feel like you have to sort of lessen your Blackness in order to assimilate. And it's kind of disheartening that people who aren't Black have celebrated so much Blackness. And I'm talking directly to the Kardashians when I say that.
Right.
So it's like, and our J-Lo's as well. I know she's a woman of color, but still, like your butt isn't that phenomenal if you just go walk down certain neighborhoods. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. You're like, oh,
that. Yeah, and it's just like, and they're going, and like the Kardashians are all getting surgery to look like Black women. And someone actually made this comment. I think it was Heather McDonald. I think it was. She makes a lot of problematic comments when it comes to women and race. And she was like, yeah. And I think it was Heather McDonald. So if I'm incorrect, I apologize to Heather McDonald preemptively. If you didn't say this, I apologize. But I believe she said something along the lines of, it's so weird that like the Kardashians got all this plastic surgery to look a certain way, but their children look just like them with plastic surgery. And my answer to that was like, duh, because they all have children with Black men.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the children look like the plastic surgery that they're trying to get to look like Black women. And the reason why their children look like them is because their children are, I don't care what you call it, Black.
Wow. Yes, they are.
So that's what it's about.
Wow. I didn't imagine there was like so much. Yeah, it's crazy. Like your line of industry is nuts. Like candy. It's like I hats off for you, honestly.
Yeah.
Geez. All right. So what's you're like in the middle of everything. Like you're just like right there in the middle of everything. You have like these like high-end Hollywood women, like the housewives or whatever. Like I follow your show, like your videos, and I'm like going.
Thank you.
I'm like dying in the comments. Like everybody's like, I was like, geez, I need to watch more of these shows. They're very entertaining, but I don't even watch them. Like I just come to your lives when you're doing lives, and I just follow what just happened. Like the other day when everybody was talking about what Marcella did and like everything, I was just like cracking up. I was like, all right, I don't have even to watch TV. I'll just come to candy shops, your candy shop, and get entertained.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow.
Yeah. And the funniest part with that is that I literally just started doing focusing on YouTube and doing lives about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like prior to that, I was really focused on my podcast and Instagram, and my blog, and acting and writing and all of that stuff. But I really got into YouTube after the All About the Tea stuff. And I didn't have a lot of subscribers on YouTube. I wasn't creating a lot of content there at all. And I was just like, let me try. Let me just go on a live. So I went on a live and just literally people popped on. I don't know how they found me because when I started, I had less than 1,000 followers.
Yeah,
like I had to get monetized throughout this process. Like I wasn't monetized. I had less than 1,000 followers. I just popped on one day. Literally, I think at this point it was like 3 weeks ago because that's how long.
I remember your live when you're like, when everybody was like, congrats, when you just reached 1,000 and you're like, I'm monetized. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. That's awesome. So what made you start YouTube?
I'm sorry?
What made you start YouTube, a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so what made me start was I'd had like my channel, like the name of it, but I wasn't putting out any content. I wasn't curating it at all. I had kind of gotten burnt out with Instagram during the pandemic. I really just realized that sure, sponsored content is great and working with brands is great. And I loved being an influencer, but at the same time, it just wasn't fulfilling anymore with everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. And then also video content to me, obviously, is like king now. Like everyone's doing reels and videos and lives. And then also why I went to YouTube was the community aspect. Like it was actually the same reason why I was a teacup. Yeah. I had somewhere to go every night. There were like-minded people laughing and kikiing. It really did feel like I knew these people, and we could have comments in the chats, and we would, check in on each other, and we had this shared experience. So particularly during the pandemic, because I never went to YouTube for that. I always just went like, oh, I want to listen to somebody's song or something. I only went for music.
Yeah, me too. Like just music or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I realized there's all of these communities. Like so many different, communities and interests and all of this stuff. And you can sit here and live chat and meet people and talk. So for me, I really went to YouTube. I discovered the community aspect. And then when All About the Tea happened, I wasn't expecting to continue. I was just like, I have something to say. This really pissed me off. I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about it on YouTube. And so I just went live and people watched, and it kind of just caught this fire in life of its own. And then I kind of felt like, okay, well, keep this going. And it's just been growing and growing and growing since then. Like I said, I started with under 1,000 followers and now I'm over 5K. So
that's insane.
From 700 followers to over 5K in 3 weeks.
That's awesome.
And it's monetized.
Yeah. That's awesome. If you can just go out there and rant publicly and people watching and ranting with you and doing all that stuff, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
And in the end you get paid for it. You
exactly. Make friends, get paid for it, have a point of view and a perspective to talk. It was great. And it's honestly so much easier than doing Instagram promos.
It is. So what else have you been doing on Instagram? I mean, everybody should be looking for you, for anything.
Yeah. So on Instagram, I've worked with brands like Pretty Little Thing and Revlon, and even studios. I'm actually going tonight to go see Dr. Death. It's a new show on
I saw your event. I think I have a reminder set.
So I'm going to that tonight. So I get to work with a lot of fashion and beauty, a lot of skincare, a lot of Eve Lom and Boscia and like that.
Nice.
So I've been very fortunate. I've gotten to work with a lot of great brands, but it's always nice to know what's next for you.
Yes, I agree.
I'm really going to focus more on YouTube. I just get to pop on and talk and connect and make money. Why not?
I just checked Candy's. Let's see. These are all my friends. They're also content creators. They are from Uganda. This guy is into fitness. It's the whole vibe. Jay. She is. She's a whole package. She is a whole package. Anytime I'm going to LA, and next time you're coming to New York, you just say, hey, Brenda, I'll be there.
I would love to.
Yeah. We can pop some champagne out there together. I love it. Eating the African wear. All these are African guys. Hey, Musinguzi. YouTube is a great creative space. Yes. So this guy does travel content, travel in Africa. So all great travel places that you can go to in Africa. Candy Single. Is Candy Single just asking? You're being naughty.
Yes, I am single. Yes.
You actually just answered that. Oh my gosh, Candy. Yes, Candy is single. So you got to bring some more candy canes here.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions for Candy, so again, we're just catching up. She was just telling me about life in Hollywood, pretty much her experience so far as a Black lady, as a Black young girl, as a woman. There's so many departments under things. So we're just catching up on that. She was just sharing her experience. So if you guys have any questions for her, feel free to throw them in the in here. She'll be able to answer you guys. If you want any gossip about like the desperate housewives of somewhere. Okay, so who are these like all the ladies, like all the women that you talk about on your channels, like have you met some of them face to face? Like do you run into each other sometimes in Hollywood?
Yeah, so I actually was on Vicki Gunvalson's podcast, and that's
Nice.
kind of how I met her. And this was before I was on YouTube. So the person that works with her had found my podcast, which is called Sugar Pills, A Practical Guide to Self-Care. And so she had found my podcast and reached out and asked if I would want to be a guest on Vicki's. And I was like, yeah, of course. So after we did that interview together, we really liked each other, liked their content, and then we did a self-love course together. And so Vicki was great. She was awesome. I got to work with her.
Nice.
Before the pandemic, I went to an event that was hosted by Kelly Dodd. It was back when she was dating the doctor.
Oh, yes.
Right? So
she was actually dating the doctor. Oh my gosh.
She was dating the doctor, and they had this event at the Mondrian, I think it was, on Sunset. It was either promoting, like, I think she wasn't doing a skincare line. It was like a tightening
oh, yeah, thing. Like Botox kind of thing.
Like Botox type thing, like a fake like facelift or something. Yeah, so I did that, and I saw her there, and then I see Reza from Shaws of Sunset. I don't know him personally, but I think we might live in the same area because I've seen him around quite a bit. So I don't want to dox anybody, but I see him around. And then what else? Yeah.
All right. Have you met the Kardashians? How are they in real life? Are they actually good people?
Well, that's the thing. I personally never met the Kardashians in real life, but I did go to a launch party that Kourtney had with Pretty Little Thing a couple years ago. And she was really, really tiny. And she kind of like kept to herself in the corner with like all of these different bodyguards
or whatever.
Bodyguards. Yeah. But I wanted to say to Jero's Fitness, I said, I haven't been posting content for 10 years. That's not true. So I've had my channel platform for whenever YouTube came out because I always want to get the platform. And then I would post like here and there, but like nothing consistently. Like I would literally go years with nothing. So it's really been the last like 3 to 4 is pushing it weeks where I've been
I know. I remember when you first went live, I was like, it just showed up in my feed and I was like, you had like very, very few subscribers, and that was like 3 weeks ago. And then before you knew it, it was like 1,000. I was like, holy cow. And like, yes, you're killing it. So that's great. So are you for real? No, so she just answered that. She's had a channel on her, she's had like a YouTube channel, but she hasn't been posting. So she decided to just start putting stuff there like 3 weeks ago. So that's how she started blowing up. And I mean, all her lives are like, every day she does a live, you have like almost 200 people watching.
Yeah,
and they're growing. So just in perspective, so she hit 1,000 subscribers last week, and as of today, you have over 5,000.
Yes, I have over 5,000.
Yeah, that's nuts. All right. So let's just talk business here. So how have you been able to prepare yourself mentally? Like, how has it been for you? Like in acting or, things that you're doing on a daily life? I mean, you're out there. How has it changed your mentality towards different things or different jobs or different people, color or anything like that? How has it been for you?
So for me, I guess I really had to get clear on separating my person, like how I feel about myself and who I am as Candy Washington, as a woman, versus me as the product creator, Candy Washington. So like if I go in for an audition and I don't get it, I can then separate and say, they're not rejecting me. It doesn't mean that I'm a failure. It doesn't mean I'm not good enough. It just means I'm not a right fit for this particular role, and it's about the work. So I think a lot of times as creative peoples, whether we're writers or artists or actors or musicians or athletes, because what we produce is so much a part of us, we sometimes forget to separate the two. So we feel that if we hear a no or if we get rejected, that we are being rejected and that it's somehow a reflection on our worthiness. But it's really not. Like if you were stocking, cans of peas at Walmart or Vons or Target or whatever it is, and a customer came in and was like, "Oh, I don't want those peas. I want these peas." You wouldn't be like, "Oh my God, I'm a failure." Right?
Yes,
because you're detached from it. So just because someone doesn't want to read your particular book, or you may not be right for this, or maybe they don't pick up your particular podcast, it's not a reflection on your inherent worthiness as a person. But because we create it, we get attached to it. So for me, I really had to learn how to detach. Really
detach yourself from your product or whatever. Yes, that's a very big point. Yes, because so many times we get like you go for an interview and you get rejected, so it pulls you down. But sometimes it goes in personal. So, but what you just said is you learned to differentiate between, okay, Candy as a person has been rejected, or maybe Candy's title or position for this job is what has been rejected. Like you differentiated, you detached yourself from whatever you were trying to do or whatever you were rejected for. Wow.
Yeah, you make it outside of yourself. Like you make it about the work. You don't make it about yourself. And I think that comes from having intrinsic value and worth, so that your feeling about your worthiness isn't contingent upon someone saying yes or no to you. You don't external circumstances dictate how much you love and honor, respect yourself.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. That's powerful. So, so how have you been in relationships? How have you gone about? So you just said you were single.
Right.
What has, why are you still single? If somebody would ask you such a thing, like, have you been in relationships? So what did you take up from relationships? What did you learn,
Yeah. So yes, I've been in relationships. And I'm still single just because I haven't met the right person yet. And when I meet the right person, then I won't be single anymore, but I'm definitely not going to settle. Yes. And I've also done a lot of work on myself. And I think that I know that I'm in a place to be a really great partner to someone else. So that's how I know that I'm ready to receive a great partner. I think sometimes we forget that step. We're always looking for the man or the woman to be X, Y, and Z and to check all these boxes. But we forget to look at ourselves and think about, well, are we in a position to be a healthy and whole partner to someone? Are we in a position to be in a good relationship? So I think once you're clear on where you're at, then it opens up and frees the space for that person to show up for you. So yes, I've been in relationships. When I was, like in high school and college, I kind of liked the bad boy a little bit, but I definitely grown way out of that. That. That's good. And now I kind of like, I guess the kind of guy I like is like an executive, like a corporate guy, but not stuffy, like not like a stuffy person, or maybe like an entrepreneur, like he owns his own business or something like that.
Okay. So that's your profile for who you want for our candy cane right here, right?
Yeah, I guess for like profession, but I think for his person, my number one thing is kindness. He doesn't not to be confused with nice, because I don't.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, what is kindness to you?
So kindness to me is someone who leads with empathy. They think about how does my words, how does my actions affect the people around me and the person that I'm with and the person that I love, and then they act from a place of mutual respect and integrity. And that includes having really good communication. You show up fully as who you are. You don't say what you think you want me to, what you think I want you to say, but you say what you actually feel in a respectful way. So to me, being kind is like leading with empathy and mutual respect, versus being nice, which to me is more of like, I'm kind of going to be codependent and say whatever you want because I'm fearful that if I am myself, you will leave or be abandoned, and then I don't get to know the real you. I only get to know your representative, which can only last for so long. And that's why you have these stories
where you shows up.
That's why you have all these stories. It's like, he was so nice in the beginning.
Yeah, but not, and then he changed.
So, loving. And then all of a sudden he turned. He went from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. It was cold.
That's right.
Who he was. And
you're breaking up, Candy. You're breaking up.
You, not this fake. And he changed. Yeah,
that's right. Like, so, what would you use? I mean, I could. You,
oh no, did I freeze?
Yeah, you were frozen for a little bit. Yeah.
Oh no, let me check my internet.
Okay.
I hope I'm not breaking out. Bear with me, guys.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
my StreamYard has been active.
Yeah, like that. You just skipped. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can still hear me, I can talk.
Yeah, I can still hear you. So somebody says getting the right partner here. These times is at God's mercy. Oh, I can't hear you, Candy. I can't hear you.
From my own spiritual beliefs, but I don't think it's necessarily at God's mercy. Oh no, you can't hear me?
Now I hear you, but before I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so what I was saying was, for me, from my spiritual perspective, it's not that it's so much at God's mercy, because that to me almost is making God this sort of like judgmental person who's going to decide if he wants to give you love or not decide he wants to give you love. I come from the mindset that God wants us to live abundantly. And a part of living abundantly is having loving and healthy relationships. So it's not so much finding a partner is at God's mercy, but God has already said that's what he wants for you. It's more of like, are you going to take that into your own hands and be proactive about it? Are you going to work on yourself? Are you going to be discerning about the people that you choose to date? Are you going to go on apps and date strategically? You're not just swiping right or left based on somebody's photo, but are you taking the time to look and say, what are they saying? What do they need? What do they want? Are you, are you doing a dating roster where you're getting to know multiple people at the same time? I don't mean sleeping with. That's your own prerogative. I just mean dating. You're not wasting time on just one person with one egg in your basket. Are you listening to relationship podcasts? Are you going to therapy? Are you reading relationship books? Like, are you becoming the best version of you to receive that good partner that will inevitably come? And it's not so much God's mercy, but are you having that spiritual relationship? Are you praying to God? Are you asking God for what you want? Are you hearing what you want? So I think it's not so much at God's mercy, because God wants us to live.
Yes, so it's working on you first. Yes, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. So, wow, that's interesting. That's so meaning that so many people, I feel like so many people that I know, so many stories that I read, think there's somebody else to bring them happiness. Like people who are single believe like, okay, I'm waiting for the right man to do this for me. I'm waiting for the right guy to do this for me. So do you feel like there's a way that we are all about receiving? People don't also first picture that, okay, what am I going to be giving? Or why am I worth that person? So it's always like you're looking at the other side of things to give you happiness. What do you say about that?
Well, what I say about that is that it goes back to what we were talking about. It's all about being very clear on what your intrinsic value and worth is. And by that, it means that that just because you are here, you are worthy and deserving of healthy love. You are lovable and you are worthy and deserving of that. And you are worthy of respect. You are worthy of kindness. You are worthy of success. You are worthy of wealth, whatever it is. And when you know that you know that you know that you are worthy no matter what, then you're not looking to a partner to validate you.
Yes.
That somehow that if this person chooses me, then somehow I now know that I'm worthy. Or if I get this number in the bank account, somehow I know that I'm worthy. Or if I book this job or gig, then I'll be worthy. Because all of those things are external and all of those things are circumstantial, which means all of those things can change. So you'll be constantly working and grinding for a sense of self-worth, and you will always be exhausted. Yes. And that's why people don't know peace. When someone says they don't know peace, if they don't have inner peace, really is just knowing that you are worthy and deserving, period. Simply because you are, simply because you're here. That is just peace. So when the relationship doesn't work out, yes, you can be sad. Yes, you can get upset, but it doesn't break you. It doesn't make you feel less than, right? When the money doesn't work out or other things don't work out, it's just, this is a circumstance that is happening. So if you're looking for someone or some relationship to fulfill you, to give you inner peace, to give you validation that you are worthy and enough, that relationship can never do that, because you can never get that from somebody outside of yourself. And sometimes that looks
powerful.
I love myself. I validate myself. I am worthy and I am here. Would I like your validation? Yes. That's a nice to have, not a need to have. And I sort of put it like this. Like if I went to, say I'm a jeweler, right?
Yes.
I'm a jeweler and I have one diamond that's worth $1 million and I have another diamond that's worth $1 million. So I have two diamonds, both worth $1 million. And say this man walks into the door and he says, I want that diamond, not that diamond. And he takes the diamond he wants and he walks out the door. The value of the diamond that he did not choose does not change.
It stays the same.
It stays the same. So that is how you need to look at yourself. You are the diamond. Your worthiness stays the same regardless if someone picks you, chooses you, buys you, dates you, loves you, or not.
That's correct.
The value of that diamond did not change simply because someone chose something different.
Wow.
The value of the diamond is inherent and intrinsic. The value of the diamond did not change. You are the diamond, and your value does not change simply because someone outside of you makes a different choice.
That's correct. That's very powerful, Candy. Oh my gosh. I had never even used that example. It had never occurred to me. That's 100% right. Somebody walks in, jewelry, just because somebody did not buy that item does not change the value of that item necessarily, Wow. So that's how.
And then on the same token, You determine what your value and what your worth is to other people. I'll give you this analogy. Say you have a black leather purse. It's made from leather. It's black, right? You go to Target, you're going to pay $20 for a black leather purse because that's how much Target says it's worth. You go to Louis Vuitton, you're going to pay $2,000 for a black leather purse. Leather is leather. They're just saying that we're going to call it high quality.
Yes.
And we're going to tell you this is what the value of it is. It's at the end of the day, they're both just black leather purses. It's just one said this is only worth $20 and another said this is worth $2,000. So you are the team. You get to tell people what your boundaries and what your standards are and how much you are worth. You get to tell men or women, you know what? If you want certain things from me, then this is what it is required. I want commitment. I want honesty. I want trust. Because that is what I am worth. So you tell people what your value and what your worth is, even at the job, right? If your boss is trying to work you to death, not pay you overtime, not pay you a good wage, doesn't give you medical, doesn't give you this or that, you can go to your boss and say, listen, I know my value. So this is what I'm worth. And unless you're able to step up to that level, I might have to find a new job. And that can be tough and it can be scary, but you need to show people what your value and your worth is. Are you a Target $20 black purse or are you a Louis Vuitton $2,000 black purse? Because if you scrape away all of the branding, you wouldn't know the difference. It's just a black
difference. It's just the branding.
It's just a black leather purse. It's just one said it was worth this and one said it was worth that. So you get to tell people what your value and what your worth is. And then space for them to step up or create the space for them to step away. And that's where having that intrinsic value comes in, because you need to be prepared that when you start speaking your worth and you start speaking your value, you're going to piss a lot of people off.
Yes,
and some people will not be for you. But if someone isn't for you simply because you're saying, this is what my value is, these are what my boundaries are, these are what my standards are, and if they are not able to meet you to your level, then maybe they're not supposed to be with you. But we can't get caught up in this fear that if someone leaves me, or if someone abandons me, or if someone doesn't want me because I now have all these standards, that somehow something is wrong with you. What that really means is that person is not deserving of your energy and joy that you bring to the room.
Wow.
So be prepared to piss people off. And
yes, it's okay to piss people off. I keep telling my friends, I'm like, it's okay to piss people off.
It's okay. It's okay to piss people off.
You come first. Like you first to me. Yes.
And when you say no to them, they expect you to honor it. I mean, when they say no to you, they expect you to honor it. So how come when you say no to them, they get in a hissy fit? Because they got you not having boundaries or standards and being a doormat and a pushover served their agenda. They were able to use you without pouring back into you.
That's right.
So sometimes you have to renegotiate the social contract. You know, maybe Candy was a pushover, you know, for this entire friendship, but she's a new Candy today. So we have to renegotiate the social contract. I'm not going to be the yes person. I'm not going to be the pushover. I'm not going to be the one that's always there, but no one's there for me. Like, you know what I mean? You are the author of your life. You get to rewrite your social contracts, even in your relationships. Maybe you tolerated a certain type of behavior in the past, but today is a new day. You're allowed to rewrite that. If that person isn't willing to change with you and grow with you, then maybe that's God, universe, energy, whatever you want to call it, showing you that there might be a more equally yoked and alignment person to meet you to where you are now. Because maybe you met someone at that level that you were at and you vibed, but now that you're vying higher, that person no longer can vibe with you.
Yeah, can no longer. Yes. So I feel like Candy. Okay, right there. I feel like it happens a lot. Yeah, oh my gosh, like light bulbs, lighting left and right. Thank you. This is awesome. I'm so glad. My friends are like, preach, sister. This is awesome. Yay, right? So you find like what happens? I don't know, but what happens? Some people are like very nice in great relationships. Everything is going very well, and then somehow, like you just say, you're flying high, and somebody can't keep up with you. And then things change, and then people feel like they're stuck in that relationship. Maybe let's say after they get married. I have like so many friends that find themselves in that position. I wonder where the disconnect starts to happen. Do we just become blind and not to see the red flags that this person is drifting away, or that was not the right person that I fell in love with? Is it me? Is it them?
I think it's both. I think that usually when those things happen, there was probably something in the beginning where you knew it may have not been the right choice. And time always reveals all. And I think a lot of times when you talk to people who are getting divorced or going to get divorced or have been divorced, once they're out of it and they're seeing more clearly, they're usually able to be more honest and being like, well, I didn't really want to marry her, but I did because of X, Y, and Z. I really didn't want to marry him, but I felt like I couldn't back out. I couldn't disappoint people. I had gone this far. I had given him so many years. We had a kid or whatever it was. So I think that in those cases, usually there's been like an elephant that's been swept under the rug. And then after a certain amount of time, the elephant comes out and you just can't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
But I also think that sometimes people do just grow apart. And that's where communication comes into the relationship. Because I think when one person makes that decision, because it is a decision, it's a conscious choice to say, I am going to do the hard work and I'm going to work on myself. I'm no longer blaming my childhood, my mama, my deadbeat ex-boyfriend, my sister, my brother, my, mean boss, whatever it is. I'm no longer blaming anything outside of me for my life not manifesting in a way that I want it to manifest. I'm going to make the conscious decision to look in the mirror and to do the hard work on me. That is a big, scary decision, but I promise you, it's a decision I made a couple years ago. It is the most rewarding and brave decision you can ever make to take accountability for your life. And it's not about judging yourself. It's not saying anything is your fault. It's not criticizing yourself. It's none of that. It's just saying, this is my one unique and precious life that has been given to me. And I choose to honor it by being conscious of how I show up for myself in my own life. So let me see, what are my patterns? Where are my blind spots? Where are my weaknesses? Not that it's weak, but just things you need to work on. Because every relationship is just a mirror of the relationship that you have with yourself.
That's correct.
So if your partner isn't willing to support you on your journey, to realize that
next question, yes.
Isn't willing to support you on your journey, isn't willing to know that like this is going to get worse before it gets better, because I'm telling you, healing is a dirty process. And by dirty, I mean there's tears and crying and revelation, and anger and grief and all of those things to get to that beautiful other side of healing, right? But you have to go through that to get to the other side. It's like giving birth. You got to go through the labor pains to get that beautiful piece of joy at the end of it. It's like a pop and a pimple. You got to go through the hard kind of pop and pimple to get that relief when the pimple's finally out. Like stuff. You got to go through the darkness to get to the dawn. It sounds so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, because it's true. You have to go through that dark incubation time to get to the other side.
To the other
right?
side, yes.
You have to do that sowing period before you reap. And if your partner is not willing to hold you down while you go through that with them, then maybe that is not the partner for you for this season of your life. Because I also think we have to start looking at marriage differently, you know. And the truth is, maybe the person that was your person when you were 25, that version of you that was 25, isn't the person for you at 45. Yes, you are the same person, but you are a vastly different version of who you are. At least you should be. That's the goal, is to grow and to mature and to elevate, not just in life, but with our consciousness and our awareness and in our being. Like, hopefully you're different energetically and consciously at 44, 45, 46 than you were in your 20s. You want that maturity. You want that awareness and lived experience, right? So if a person isn't reflecting not just and I was talking to my sister about this the other day, but not just the person that you are now, but if that person isn't willing to support you in the person that you are becoming, right? Then maybe that's not.
That reminds me of one of your lives you were just talking about. What was it? Wendy Williams and Brown, whatever. So
but the Brown.
Yeah, Pamela Brown. Yeah. So I haven't caught up with exactly what happened to Wendy there. I mean, it might be something very emotional. I don't want to like mock it or anything, because I feel like so many people go through these things, you know.
Yeah.
So what happened to Wendy, first of all? So what is the Wendy story? We can talk about the gossip.
Yeah. So basically, what happened with Wendy was, when she was coming up in the radio world, she definitely had some substance abuse problems. She's talked about this a lot. She had some body image issues. She talked about that a lot. And then with her husband, I guess he was, maybe a little emotionally and mentally, financially abusive to her, just really controlling and kind of tyrannical.
Did he have more money than her?
No, she had more money than him, but he was controlling it.
I see.
Yeah. So financial abuse is really about who controls the money. Like sometimes there are women who make the money, but the men control the bank accounts.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's really about who controls the money, not always just who makes it.
I see.
And he was also her manager. So there was a lot going on there. And then he was cheating on her, and then he got his main side chick pregnant. And so he ended up.
Wendy have kids?
Wendy has one son. She has one son. One son, yeah. So he ended up getting the side chick pregnant, and then they ended up divorcing, and now he's with his new family.
My gosh, how fast did all this happen?
Probably over the course of like a year or so, like right before the pandemic.
I remember like last year, there's one of her shows, I think she fell down or something like that, and she wasn't looking that great. Yeah,
she was sick. Yeah. Well, she has Graves' disease, and she has lymphedema. I think it's called lymphedema. Yeah.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I have a quick question. What can somebody, some of my friends who are like have good professions are having a hard time. They feel like guys are scared of their financial stability, so they are having problems with having relationships. Is that a thing? Like, are people like, do professional women end up intimidating guys? Like, have you had any issues like that? People are like scared of like, how do I even start dating Candy? Like, seriously, like, what do I have to say to her? So you get what I'm talking about. Like,
no, I get what you're talking about, and I think there's two parts to that. I think the first one is, I'm also a really big believer in affirmations, and what you think or say shows up in your life. And being very mindful that your words and your thoughts are life affirming. Like the Bible says, life or death, is in the power of the tongue. And I totally, and as a man thinketh, so is he. So if you are a woman and what you're constantly telling yourself is that all men are intimidated by me, then what will show up for you is men who are intimidated by you. So I would kind of switch that mindset first, switch your own self-concept, and be intentional about what you want to show up in your life. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you keep saying something is going to happen, usually it does. Or if what you're focused on is what you start to see and what you start to attract. So you might even find a guy who isn't intimidated by you, but if your mental default is all men are intimidated by me, you might even overlook him because you're so on. Because the thing is, the mind wants to be right. So your mind, and it's also called confirmation bias as well. So what you believe, your mind will find evidence to support, which is why it's so important to change your mindset. So if you believe all men cheat, if you believe all men are dogs, if you believe all men are gay or married, if you believe that all men are intimidated by successful women, then what you will see and what you will look for subconsciously and what will show up for you are all of those things, because your mind wants to prove you right. It's the essential part of the ego. The ego wants to be right. Doesn't mean it's rational, doesn't mean it is right, but it will find evidence to prove itself to be right. That's why they say, practicing gratitude is so important, because it gets you in the habit of finding things to be grateful for. So more things in your life shows up. So the first thing I would do is switch your mindset. Do a mental audit. What are the things I'm thinking around myself when it comes to men and relationships? What are the things I'm saying about men and myself when it comes to relationship? And make a list and be very honest. Ask a couple of friends. Be like, hey, what do I always say about men and relationships? If you had 3 reasons why I'm single, like what do you think? But do it with people that you trust, not someone who just wants to drag you down and shade the hell out of you. Do it with someone you truly, truly trust, who has your best interest in mind, right? And then look at that list. And anything that doesn't serve you, figure out what is the opposite of this or what is a better serving thing, right? If your internal affirmation is that all men are intimidated by successful women and you're a successful woman, that does not serve you if you're looking for a relationship. So maybe you flip it and you say, and then personalize it, right? Make it very personal. Be like, all men love to support me in all of my professional endeavors. All men find my success super attractive. I love attracting men who are at my level or above, right? So it's like, because then you're also thinking in that sentence, not just men are intimidated by you, but the undertone is that you are attracting men who are at lesser places than you are. So maybe that you have to work on your self-worth. Maybe you don't think you're worthy and deserving of a guy who is at your level or higher, so you lowball yourself. So you have to really think about that too, because a part of that is really saying the essence of that, even if you have money, even if you're attractive, even if you have success, the essence of that is somehow, I'm still not good enough. Even though I have all of these things, I'm still not good enough.
Still not good enough, yes.
The essence of that is. So you have to think about, when was the first time I believed or heard or learned that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough? Who told me I wasn't worthy and deserving or good enough? And why do I choose to continue to hold on to that belief? And then what are the steps I can take to change that self-belief? Because at the core of all of that is just, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for a man to love. I'm not good enough on my own. I'm not good enough in general. I'm not good enough to meet a rich, wealthy man. I'm not good enough for a man to be, I'm not good enough for a man to respect and cherish and honor. I'm not good enough for a man to be faithful to. So it's all about the essence of I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm deserving. My needs and wants don't matter. So it's getting at the core essence of that. So just being very, very mindful of your self-talk. What are you affirming in your life? Because you can either affirm all men are intimidated by successful women, or you could affirm I love meeting men who honor and respect me. Every guy, just is really in awe of my success, and he just wants me to be more and more successful. Where did all of these amazing, respectful single men come from? You know what I mean? Like, get delusional with it, get crazy with it, like get jazzed about it, ask those fun questions, be like, wow, every time I go out the door, all of these high quality men are checking for me, right? And the more you change your internal dialogue, the more you change your subconscious mind, that is what will physically manifest in your life. I am telling you.
Yes.
Because what your mind says is right, your eyes will find evidence to prove. That's why a lot of women say, he was cool, but he was nice. Oh, he was too nice. He was too kind. And I don't mean nice in the way that we were talking about before. I mean, it's like going through that, like, they think that someone being hot and cold or struggle love, they think that is love because that's what they grow up seeing love as. A struggle, a back and forth, a danger, inconsistency, up and down. We have to think about the dynamics that were mirrored to us in our childhood. What was our parents' relationships like to each other? What were our parents' relations like to us as a child in general? Because sometimes what you think is love is actually dysfunction.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Say, girls marry their dads or guys marry their moms. It's not literal. You marry the dynamic that you had with them because you're trying to get from your partner what you didn't get from your parents. Okay. Was your dad absent? Did he not pay you with any attention? So maybe you marry a man who does the same exact way and maybe the same exact thing in a different way. And in your mind, you're thinking, well, if I can get this guy to choose me, then I'm worthy and I'm enough. And somehow that's going to heal the wound of the little girl in me that so needed her father or so needed her mother or whatever it is.
Wow.
So you just have to be mindful of what your patterns are. Is what you're calling love actually love?
Yeah, right.
Or you can just mirror what has been familiar to you.
Wow. Powerful. So Rex has a question. As a husband, should my wife have a male best friend?
Okay, I have a good perspective on this because I have a lot of guy friends, and some of their wives, girlfriends sometimes take issue with that. Some of them do, some of them don't, and I totally get it. I think that it really depends, and it's an individual basis. Do you know the man? Is that man respectful towards you? And then also, what are the boundaries of your wife's relationship with that man? Is it they just actually are just friends and they enjoy each other's company and they go out and they have fun and they do stuff? Or are boundaries being crossed? Do they sleep in the same bed if they go on a vacation? Are they too touchy-feely? Are they too flirty? Does she pay more attention to him in public places that you are at than you? What's going on their social media? So I think that just because someone is the opposite sex, that doesn't mean that they can't be friends with someone. But I think that boundaries have to be very clear and honored. That person has to be very respectful to you, and you and the trick is you and your wife have to establish what those boundaries are. I'm not saying you talk to the man and you're like, hey, dude, don't do this. It's not. It's not
when you're hugging her.
Right? Like, don't do that with my wife. It's not your position to check him. It's your position to have healthy communication with your wife. And the two of you come together and she says to you, what makes you comfortable? What makes you uncomfortable? And then for you to be vulnerable and honest enough to say, well, if he texts after 12 at night or 11 or 1, that makes me kind of uncomfortable. So maybe let's just have him reach out to you, before 10 or before 9 or whatever, whatever it is. Just be honest with your wife about these are the things that make me uncomfortable and these are the things I'm okay with. And then it becomes your wife's job to implement those boundaries with her friend. That's how you don't create triangulation. That's how you don't create like her and him against you, then you and him, then you and her against him. And then it's all this drama and all this stuff. Yes. Triangulation is when, there's one person who's at the middle of it. And instead of talking directly to people, they talk to other people and all that. So you don't want to triangulate. You want to be very direct. Your commitment and expectation of respect comes from within the confines of your marriage. So because you are the two people who are committed to each other. Have that conversation with your wife. Be honest about what your expectations are. Then it is your wife's job to make sure that she communicates that clearly and directly and implement those boundaries with her friend. That way, there's no opportunity for you and him to butt heads. It doesn't become a he said, she said. It is very, very clear. And it's very clear that the wife is saying, this is my husband. I love and honor him. You're my friend. I love you too. But these are the things that we need to have in place to make both relationships work. Then if that male friend doesn't honor that, like, of course, there might be slip ups. He might be like, oh, it's 1 o'clock. And it's like, oh, I know that. Use your discernment and go with intentionality. Nobody is perfect. There might be slip up here and there, but if they're really trying and if they genuinely are respectful to you, give people grace, when it comes to that stuff. But if someone is deliberately being disrespectful or is deliberately trying to sabotage your relationship or is deliberately trying to have an inappropriate relationship with your wife, then you go to your wife and you say, this has happened. I want you to cut it off with your friend, and then have your wife cut that relationship off. And if that person doesn't respect that, then you step in. But you don't want to start off with, hey man, blah, 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 blah.
Stay away, no texting my wife, blah, blah, blah.
When you didn't take the necessary steps to have healthy and honest communications and boundaries. And I think that's where people get tripped up, where they're like, oh, my man can't have female friends. My wife can't have male friends. And then when you come from that place, that breeds what? Secrecy.
Exactly. Yeah. People will start hiding their communication and all that stuff. Yes. And then
paranoia.
Stuff nuts. Yes. Paranoia. Yes.
Secrecy, resentment, control, paranoia. So when you come to the situation as, nah, you can't have this or you can't have that, that's setting your relationship up for failure.
That's right.
Because and what you're communicating to your wife is, I don't trust you. So then what is she going to do? She's going to give you a reason not to trust her.
That's correct. So I have another question for you. So we might be winding down. So I know you have like so many other events that you need to run to. So, but this is like so helpful because I have like all my friends who are watching and they're like single. Some have been in relationships before. So this is like really, really big. People are loving it. So this is like, you're just a candy right now. So let's say you find some friends. You probably have some of these as well in your circle, in your communities. People who've been in relationships before and then things don't work out. But I find like most women are the ones that end up losing their esteem compared to the guys. Like guys, I feel like to me, guys easily move on. But the damage is like on the women. Like the women are the ones that who take the pain. People like, what are the little things that somebody can start doing to gain back their esteem? Of course, society also doesn't make it easy. Like in African communities, when somebody's married and then they divorce or they move on, you still looked at like, your marriage failed kind of thing. So society also like plays a big role in damaging our esteem. But what could the people do, like women do, to start like gaining their esteem back?
Right. Well, I would say I actually don't think that men's esteem stays intact. I think that sometimes society teaches men that they can't communicate and that they can't be honest. And a lot of times if a man jumps from relationship to relationship, he's running from himself. And he doesn't take the time to heal and to reflect and to work on himself to be a better person, which is why a lot of times when people jump from relationship to relationship, the same thing happens in each one. He cheated in this one, he cheated on the next one, or he was a doormat in this one, he's a doormat in that one, because he hasn't taken the time to really work on himself. So I actually think that it's a false narrative that men don't hurt or don't have self-esteem worthiness issues, because a lot of times, because they don't have self-esteem and worthiness, they act out in the relationship and they take it out on the women, right? If they don't think that they're worthy and they don't have enough self-esteem, then they become threatened that you have a male friend, right? They become threatened that, you want to have your own career and you make your own money, because, and then in their own mind, they're struggling with, just as women do, of not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy.
I guess so, yeah, that's
but
right.
Our society says men aren't allowed to say that and just show. Whereas women, when it comes to sexist stuff, women a lot is afforded the opportunity to grieve and to be upset and to be angry and to have all those things when it comes to it, because the expectation is that men break women. If you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, right? The expectation is the relationship doesn't work out, the man broke the woman, which may or may not be true.
Right.
Maybe the man has had self-esteem issues, but that is what we're told. And so then if that's the narrative, that men break women and then our relationship doesn't work out, then you see yourself as what? A broken woman with low self-esteem. So I think the way that you start to rebuild your self-esteem is realizing that you're not a broken woman. You're just a woman who is human, and you went through a very human experience. To have loved and to have lost is a tale older than time. And it goes back to, like, yes, this may be really sad, it may be depressing, it might hurt. Allow yourself to go through all of those questions of, why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't he stay? Why did he cheat? Why didn't it work out? Give yourself the grace to go through all of that, and then give yourself the grace to kind of let that go. And then to take accountability, not in that it's your fault, or like, I should have done this, I should have been sexier, I should have, I should have looked the other way, I shouldn't have been a nag. Instead of those things, sure, write them down, but think about, but what was the need that I needed to be fulfilled that wasn't? So instead of saying I was a nag, say, I was a woman that wanted more quality time with my partner. So now I know that I need and value quality time. So in my next relationship, I will communicate in a healthy way directly that something that makes me feel loved and seen is spending quality time with someone. And then let me think about those activities that we share together that we can do together for that quality time, Instead of saying, well, I was a woman that should have just looked the other way with his infidelities, or I wasn't doing enough in the bedroom to make him happy. Instead, you're like, I'm a woman that honors and values loyalty and commitment. So the next time I get in a relationship with someone, I'm going to be very honest about that. And I'm going to make sure to express what my sexual needs are and make sure that I understand what his sexual needs are, so that we are being sexually fulfilling together. But I also understand that men cheat usually isn't actually about sex. It's about control. And it's about getting something in themselves that they feel is lacking. It usually never actually has to do with the sex act itself. And that goes back to thinking that all men are dogs and all men cheat. Well, the reality is cheating is a symptom of something that they're lacking within themselves. That they don't have the language or the permission to say. Because it's like, yeah, man, I just, hooked up with this chick and that chick. But what is the root cause of that? Are you feeling that you get your validation from being able to conquer women? Do you feel you get your worthiness as a man by being able to cheat and dog women out? Like, why don't you feel worthy as your own person? Why don't you feel that you're capable of being honest? If you don't want to be in a committed relationship, why are you incapable of communicating that? If you want to have the freedom to date and sleep with multiple women, that is your God-given right. So why are you not in a position to be honest about who you are and where you're at? Why do you feel, or on the flip side, why do you feel you're incapable of being faithful? What are those issues coming up for you? So sure, the cheating and all of this stuff and everything else that can tear down relationships, they're all just symptomatic usually of a root problem that is rooted in our level of self-esteem and self-love, worthiness, and self-respect for both women and men. It may manifest differently.
That's right.
Looked at as a nagger or as, jealous and paranoid, or a man might cheat and become distraught or just or withdrawn or whatever. The symptoms may look different, but the root cause is the same. So I would say, particularly as women looking for that, I would just say take the time to focus on yourself, to figure out the things you can do differently. Make a list and get very clear about what are the attributes and values and things in a man or in a partner that you want, in a relationship that you want. Be clear about what you bring to the table, not in a weird Kevin Samuels way, but I just mean like knowing that you are worthy and you're valuable, you're fun to be around, or just like honor what your unique traits and things are. So that you are a prize too. So it's not
you're a prize.
I want this person to pick me, but it's, do I want to pick this person? Because I know the value that I bring. And I think that's another mindset shift when it comes to dating. A lot of times we're so focused on the other person. Does he have this, 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 this? Does she have this, 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 this? And like all of that stuff. And then you get kind of insecure in yourself and you're like, pick me, choose me, love me, want me. But you forget to think, is this a person that I actually want to pick and choose and love? We're so focused on being picked. We forget to be the picker.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It comes back to what we were just talking about at the beginning. Yes. We're like, this is what I want. This is what I want. Like, what are you giving? Yes, you. So like somebody said, oh, do women find guys with abs more attractive than a guy who has a big belly?
I mean, I think that's just personal. It's just a personal preference. I mean, I think, like in society and pop culture, certain things are sensationalized. When it comes to women, oh, big butt, big boobs, six packs.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to men, six packs, this whatever. But if you look around in the reality of the world, love comes in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, that's right. So do you find in Hollywood, is there a lot of body shaming? Like for some roles, have you ever, do people complain about that stuff? I remember one time I was reading about, there was a documentary on like models, girls who they had to either be like a size 0, and if you're like a size 4, you looked at differently. So I felt like, do people actually go extra mile to like, okay, I have to starve myself and all this stuff? Does that stuff happen?
Yeah, that happens. And I think it happens in Hollywood, social media, and across the board, even in like rural little counties and towns. I think when you're bombarded with images that may not be real or obtainable, and you put yourself against a standard that might not be natural for you, then yes, some people go to great lengths to look a certain way or to fit a certain mold. And unfortunately, particularly when it comes to entertainment, so much is on, do you fit the particular look that we're going for? So I mean, it definitely happens. Yeah.
Okay.
Very true. Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. So have you had friends, or have you had an experience with friends who are like some friends that are always on the receiving end, like where you feel like you get exhausted by a relationship? This is just maybe by just friends, like girlfriends or whatever. You feel like what do you do? Like, how do you break out away from them? Like, you have this friend who's always like, wants all the attention, wants this, wants that. And what do you do? Like, to be like, oh my gosh, this is exhausting, to be like diplomatic. Yes.
Yeah. So to me, that's like a toxic friendship where it's like the person is just sort of like an energy vampire. I think first to get clear on, is this a friendship that I want to salvage, or is this a friendship that I'm ready to just let go of? If it's a friendship that you want to salvage, I would say have the uncomfortable, honest conversation with them. You know, grab coffee and come with very specific examples, because it can be hard for you to say to someone, you know, you make everything about you, and I try to come to you with things and you don't have time for me, and you're da 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 da. They're going to be like, what were you talking about? So come from a place of non-defensiveness and not being accusatory. This is if you want to salvage the friendship. You say, hey girl, we've been friends for so long. I really love you and I really care about you, but I've noticed some things that is making me want to withdraw from the friendship. Can I talk to you about those things so that we can make sure our friendship gets back on track?
Communication, yes. Yeah,
so when you did A, B, and C, it made me feel like this. I just want to get your perspective on how that went down. And maybe that person isn't aware of how they're coming across. Maybe that person isn't aware that they're very self-absorbed. A lot of people who are like that lack self-awareness, so they may not even know that you're feeling a type of way. So if you think the friendship is worth saving, have that tough, honest, non-defensive conversation. Set the intention that, hey girl, I love you, but some stuff has been going on. I want to talk to you about it because I really want us to get back on track and have a better friendship than ever.
Right.
Y and Z, and see are the things that made me feel this way. And you had that conversation, and then have an action plan of how to move forward. You know, like, well, when I call you, can we make sure that we designate half of the time to talk about my stuff too? You know, I'm still open to talking about your stuff, but like, let's just make that effort to make sure that
exactly.
Yeah. Or create boundaries. Or, you know, I love talking to you, but, you know, when I'm at work, I can't talk to you for hours. So let's try and like touch base like before I head in or after work, or like let's do brunch on the weekends. Just create those healthy boundaries with the people, you know, explaining that you love them and you want to save the friendship, but these are the things that are going on. If it's someone that you already are done with, I'm a fan of two things. One, cold turkey, just call a thing a thing. And another one is the slow fade.
Slow fade. Like
respond a little less. Don't invite them out to things. Like, let them get the hint, just like a slow fade out, because you don't owe anyone your energy and you don't owe anyone your time.
We have Nana asking, what if that doesn't work? Well, she just gave like two ways. Like, one is like slow fade. Like, if those two don't work, I don't know.
I mean, you're also an adult, so I don't know how they can't work. So if, you know what I mean? A person cannot be in your life unless you give them permission to. And that's the truth.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if they start showing up on your door, or if they start doing weird stuff and stalking you, that's crossing a different line. And that's when you get like a restraining order and the police in there. So if we're being honest, no one can play a position in your life unless you give them permission to.
That's correct.
So if you stop answering somebody's calls, if you don't invite them out, if you don't let them in, if you don't go out with them, that person will not be in your life.
That's correct.
And if they do weird things, then that's a totally different conversation. That's like a stalker, like an actual problem. That's something totally different. But we always have control of who is in our life and who is not in our life. We always have that control. Whether or not we choose to exert it is another thing, but we always have it.
All right, so my friends are asking, well, you guys had this station for free. Like, she is a coach, so you guys should be very, very grateful you had this for free. But guess what? So the thing is, she's a professional coach. This is what she does, like on her podcasts, on her channels, on her Instagram, all these things, besides her acting and being a model and all those things. But you can always catch her. She always goes live almost every day, if not like maybe every other day. And she has dates that she's just talking about self-care, self-love. I am so hooked to her channel. You guys would love it. So please go subscribe to her channel, and you'll be like, you can ask her any questions there. She's a very, very, she's a candy. Like, she calls her people candy canes. So that's why I'm calling her like candy. So when you see like, oh, her fans usually do the candy canes, like, she's my lollipop, so she's for me. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to her. Of course, like reasonable questions. Now, if you bully her, she'll bully you. She hits back. So,
yeah, I do a very classy shade.
Yeah, she can have it. So, but follow her on her Instagram. Candy, you use the same. What's your Instagram?
It's at Candy Washington.
At Candy Washington, just exactly like everything. So, and I put her YouTube link in my description, so you guys please go follow her and check what she talks about. She talks about, if you're into like the Hollywood gossip, you love her tea time lives, because like after any other show, they're just like talking and talking. It's like 200 people are watching and going back and forth, just pretty much dissecting what happened in the previous show. So, and you'll love it. So anyway, so guys, so Candy, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Let me see. Somebody had a question here. No. Share her Instagram. She just said it's at Candy Washington. So that's that. Nabs, let's fed in. These are friends. Okay, so that's Liz. Guys, all you my friends. So fights are less aggressive with money. You slap her with a ticket to Paris and fly away with her girls. Candy, what do you say about this?
I say that money and flights and gifts are always nice, but it's always just the icing on the cake. So always just remember to focus on your core foundational relationship, because money does not equate to happiness and healthy. So you could be poor, not poor, but you know what I mean? You could not have a lot of money.
You cannot have a lot of money, yes.
So loved and supported and happy and joyful in your relationship. Versus you could also have a ton of money and feel completely alone and isolated. Because again, just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you feel like you have a partnership. So I say keep money and the flights and all that. Like, yes, shower your girl because she deserves it. We all do. But make sure that the core and the foundation of your relationship is what is stable and healthy first.
Yeah. I mean, I know William was just like making fun, but these things actually happen. Some men actually believe because they have the money. I know this. Liam is my friend, so I know he's joking.
Hi, Liam. Yeah. No, I don't.
Yeah. So, but Candy, honestly, there've been men like that though, or even women who have the money. You feel like money rules. And then we've also seen people who actually have a lot of money, but they are crying. They're empty. So all those things, like in relationships, I don't really think material things don't define happiness in relationships. So, and I feel like so many people have it wrong that way. They feel like most of us will always be looking for guys who have money, who have this, who have that. It's probably like the .coms, our century is looking for people who already have. And believe that's how we're going to gain all the happiness there is. Right.
Yeah. It just goes back to like the core essence of this conversation. Anytime you're looking outside of yourself to give you value and worthiness and lovability, you will never be fulfilled and you will never have peace, because peace truly is an inside job.
That's right. It starts with yourself. Yeah. All right. Guys, we're going to say bye to Candy. She has to catch up with the rest of her LA life here. Thank you, girl. I'll be watching you tonight. I can't wait. And guys, go check Candy out. Candy, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of Ugandan subscribers. So when you're on the live, please shout out to them. You're like, hey, Liam.
I will.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you again. Yes. Let me see. What is this? Peace is an inside job. That's correct. That's what Candy has just been talking about. Absolutely. You work on you before you expect, somebody else to make you happy out there. So thanks, guys, for joining us. Candy, take care. We'll be in touch again.
Yes. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. All right. Bye, guys. Take care. Thanks, guys, for joining in. Thank you. Take care. Liam, Neno, you won't sleep. Guys, we gotta end this. I hope have a great night. I appreciate all your support, all your likes, all your comments, all the chats. You guys are very awesome. So bye. Take care. Good night and good evening for you.